Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we are here and it's the racing debrief. It's 2 in the morning. It's been a long day. I finally just finished watching races. Got to take a shower and finally could sit down and record. So that's why there's a little water in my shirt. Um, but what a what a day it's been here Monday. And what a racing weekend overall. Um, I'm tired out from today. I'm be honest. So I could only imagine the people that were, watching uh, in person in Charlotte, and the people working there, whether it's for TV or on Teams or at the track or even fans being there. But there's a lot of racing to discuss here in the Racing Debrief. Of course, we pushed it back to be a Tuesday episode, um, just due to the Coke Thunder being pushed back. Of course, not the first NASCAR race has been pushed back since we've done the Racing Debrief as a series. But, we said, okay, we'll do it on a Sunday, but I feel like getting the race in for that weekend makes sense. We made a slight change in the schedule, and here we are on a Tuesday. So we're going to go in order of the series. So we're going to do F1, then we'll do IndyCar, and then we'll do NASCAR. So let's start with F1. F1, of course, Monaco, always a setting race. That is the crown jewel for Formula One. So it's always exciting to sort of just see who's going to win that, who's going to add a crown jewel to their career. Obviously, not the most exciting action on Sundays. Monaco. It's never really been a track you could pass at. People say the cars are too big now, but you look at the clips from, 2010s. Still hard to pass. 2000s, hard to pass. 90s, 80s, hard to pass. So it's not like it's that much of a difference. I guess it's a little harder now than it used to, but it's still always been a very difficult track to pass on. So if you qualify well, you're in a good spot. So qualifying in Monaco, Sergio Perez put in the wall, which I found hilarious. Obviously, I like the Red Bull team. I want both Red Bull cars at the front. But I think it kind of quiets down the Perez fans who got a little bit ahead of themselves, thinking that there was a championship fight within Red Bull. Perez, had 2 races where he benefited from issues that Max had that he won. So that's the part where I thought it was just like, okay, let's chill. Also, him being the king of the streets because he can only win on street tracks was also kind of funny. So when he put it in the wall, it was okay. Obviously, seeing the floor revealed everybody wasn't the most ideal situation. But, now Perez dropped down a little bit. Championship fight, really, really over. I mean, I said it last racing debrief. We talked about F1 after Miami. But I think we're in a point where Max will get that 3rd championship. And Max's qualifying lap, insane. That last qualifying round was insane. Ocon on the top. You had Leclerc on the top. You had Alonso on the top. And seeing Aston Martin get so excited, it was definitely disappointing for them. I'm sure they're going to win this year. Seeing Alonso win will be really, really cool. But that last sector for Max, when he was down 2/10, and to pull out basically 3/10 in the last sector, which is a very small sector of the track. I mean, it's not a big section at all. To pull out 3/10 was absolutely insane. I was sitting there, I'm like, well, Max not going to get this one. And sure enough, when it went purple and said he had it, I was just like, what? I was so obviously excited, but so surprised. I was like, damn, how do you pull that out? How did you do that one? So, absolutely brilliant to see that. The Monaco Grand Prix itself, bit boring. Not really much happened, at least in the first half. But there was always an interest of, is it gonna rain? Is that gonna happen? Because there wasn't obviously passing. There wasn't any of that. Max kind of drove off a few seconds. Who had the better tires? Was it Aston Martin? Was it Red Bull? Was Alonso going to be able to pass Max with the tires through a pit stop? And again, the question of rain, a lot of the writers were saying it wasn't going to rain. It was. It didn't seem like it was going to, but it slowly crept over the track. The section before the tunnel, the kind of hairpin area. I don't remember the corner names. I'm be honest. Corner names aren't interesting to me. I know in F1 it's a big deal, but I don't care about corner names, honestly. Just give me a number. So, in that section, though, started to rain, get a little damp, but again, half the track was dry. Half of it was wet. Can you survive with the slicks, get enough heat, go through those sections without sliding off the track, without crashing, without going on the wall? If you go on the wall, you're done. But then it got to a point where, okay, intermediates did what it was. Whole track got damp, and it was just, cars sliding off. Signs slid off. I know that. That definitely cost him a few spots. He almost was out of the race. The way he hit that barrier, what a save. Max came close to the barrier a few times, pushing a little bit, but, But yeah, overall, just the rain in the end was interesting. Then the track started to dry up. Not enough to go off inters, but still. Seeing the track dry up a little bit is like, okay, where are we going to get? Are we going inters? Are we not? Are we staying on slicks? Or going to slicks, staying on inters, whatever it was going to be. Very interesting, though, in that situation. Also, throughout the race, George Russell was begging to get position from Hamilton because he got a 5-second penalty. That just looked ridiculous. The continued radio transmissions of that was interesting. But at the end of the race, Max winning, obviously. Super sad about that. Alonso getting second. It's cool to finally see him move up a spot on the podium. Be getting third, basically, all the races. And the only race he didn't get a podium was it Azerbaijan? He didn't get a podium, maybe? I think he might have got fourth there. But other tracks, he was getting third. So, see him move up to second. That was kind of cool. Then Ocon on the podium. Definitely seeing him excited was a cool thing. It's cool when you get to see a driver be excited about something that doesn't really happen frequently for them or for their team. Definitely cool to see. So, we'll now switch to IndyCar, the Indy 500. We don't typically talk about IndyCar on the channel. It gets occasionally brought up in the race playlist when we're discussing the difference in what the F1 cars and Indy cars within the game, because there is 2 cars in GTA based off F1 cars, 2 cars in GTA based off Indy cars. So we occasionally will go over that. But outside of actually talking about real racing, not something that we really talk about on the channel outside of the Indy 500. I think I had a short of it last year that I talked about a little bit from it. But the Indy 500 is interesting. Of course, it's one of the biggest races. It's the crown jewel of IndyCar. So we get to see crown jewel for F1, crown jewel IndyCar, and of course NASCAR, the Coke 600, one of the 3 crown jewels in that. So it's kind of cool to see all those crown jewels take place on the same day, or they're supposed to at least. But IndyCar, obviously insane. The car is ripping around the track. Very, very fast. So, I watched about the first half. And then my brother and his girlfriend came over. So, I didn't necessarily watch the second half as much. I did see the crash, though, that had the tire fly over the stands. That was absolutely insane. So it's one of those things that I hadn't really seen much of that. Of course, if you watch IndyCar and you've watched it a while, more wild things typically take place in that than in NASCAR or F1 from that standpoint. But just to see the tire, with the tether, because again, all 3 of these racing series that we discuss here, or are discussing this episode, have tethers for the tires. To keep them on so they don't fly off in the stands or fly over the stands. And that was wild, just to see that happen. I'm sure they'll take things here and maybe readjust the fences, see the trajectory of it, and try to improve the tethers. Something will obviously come out of that in a positive safety way. Fortunately, nobody was hurt by it. Somebody's Chevy Cruze was hurt by it, so not really a loss because it's Chevy Cruze. But no, fortunately, nobody's hurt by it, and I'm sure again they'll learn something from it. So come to the end of the race. It was interesting to see the reaction to the red flag, and honestly, I didn't think they were gonna red flag it. With the crash of the straight with like 3 laps to go, it didn't seem like the red flag, but IndyCar took that kind of NASCAR approach of we want to have a crazy chaotic finish, and of course, F1's been taking that with their red flags, which is kind of unfortunate to see, because NASCAR kind of becomes a shit show in the last 15 laps of this crash. Get a caution, get overtimes. Of course, those series, IndyCar and F1, do not have overtime. It's just we go to the race distance, but they want to create action at the end of it, and it felt a little unnecessary, especially when there's 2 cars on both sides of the track. And then to say we're coming out of the pits and the race goes. Joseph Newgarden, great pass on the back straight to win the race, and his celebration was just so amazing, so cool to see. A driver that's been racing for a long time wanting to win that race, and something sort of got away from him. Seeing that was just so cool. Jumping in the crowd. Just one of those celebrations that's very unique. Go up there, celebrate. You don't really see that. The drivers are kind of, they'll go up to the fence and they'll, be close with the fans, but to go with the fans to celebrate, that was really, really awesome to see that. So, very, very cool racing moment. Those are kind of my takeaways from Indy. Again, I would have liked to watch more of it, but I was doing other things that I enjoyed. Probably enjoyed more than the race, to be honest. So now we go to NASCAR. We go to talk about the Truck Series first. That was on Friday. Ben Rhodes won. The trucks don't really do it for me on 1.5 miles. They're not really that exciting. I mean, the trucks this year, the more I've looked at the trucks, it's kind of fallen in my interest of watching races. It's definitely, there's one series where like, hey, I don't really care, it'd be the trucks. Some years it's Xfinity, some years it's trucks. This year's trucks is, as it evolves more and more into a drivers that are 17 crashing into each other, it's less interesting. The 1.5 miles just don't really do it with the trucks. It's kind of just hold it open and go. So it doesn't really get to show your true talent that a lot of drivers I think have. I definitely want to see more short tracks in the trucks and more little local levels. I think something like North Wilkesboro, seeing them there, those are very cool. That's the type of track that you go to North Wilkesboro. That size and smaller, tracks like that. That's when the truck should be at. I know it's obviously a little different than it used to be years ago with trucks, where it wasn't just like go wherever you want. It kind of has to follow the Cup Series and Xfinity Series. They really don't do one-off races, but again, they did one-off in Texas. So do a one-off race and somewhere actually good. So that's my take on Xfinity, or truck. Not too much out of it. We'll jump to the Xfinity Series. That was actually the last race, but I want to talk about the Cook's Xfinity to finish. So the Xfinity Series was supposed to be on Saturday. Got rained out till Monday. Coke 600 got rained out. Xfinity race got moved forward. So 2 races was to take place on Monday. This is part where I get tired. Because I woke up, watched part of the Xfinity race, which then it rained after 48 laps. So they said, okay, we're going to do it after the Cup race. So I watched the beginning of the Cup race. Then I had to go to work for 5 hours. Come home, watch the whole Cup race, then watch the Xfinity race. Or watch the last 3 stages of the Cup race. So I was definitely like, oh boy, this has been a day. But Xfinity, the first 40, 50 laps, went by, got rained out. But I think the race was exciting. I think that the end of it with fuel mileage is very cool to see. You don't really see it much now in NASCAR with stages. Usually, sometimes you get a few fuel mileage races out of a year. Cup, Xfinity, trucks. Trucks not as much, but Cup and Xfinity had enough distance that you would see a fuel mileage race here or there. Who's going to make it, who's going to not make it. Pretty much everybody had to pit at the end. But Justin Allgaier made it, won the race. John Nemechek second. He made it as well. Cole Custer third. Those three able to go through with the fuel mileage. So it was cool to see. I've been asked to get a few more of those races, but you either get fuel mileage or you would get it occasionally, but typically it's either a stage comes in so you kind of know everybody's when they're going to pit, and typically you get a bunch of cautions. So it definitely takes away from it a little bit, but in that situation it's very cool to see, overall having some action there with that and not just purely being a crash fest. I think that made it exciting. There was a lot of action going on around 10th. Ty Gibbs coming back from his issues, going past Sam Mayer. That's always interesting when those two are together. So that battle area was interesting for part of the race for sure after stage 2. So I like the Xfinity race. So we go to the Cup race. Coke was over again. Watch the first stage basically. Right after the stage, right when they were pitting, that I went and got ready to go to work. So first stage went through. Again, I'm gonna be honest. That was hours ago, and it was the first stage. So I don't remember who won. Was it William Byron on the first stage? Maybe. I think so. But yeah, first stage kind of happened. Stage 2, things picked up a little bit. You had Chris Buescher win stage 2. He moved up. That was impressive to see. RFK car winning a stage, but of course the main talking point of that race and of the weekend, and probably going to be the talking point for next few days, was Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin lost the car a little bit, slid up the track towards Chase Elliott, hit the wall. Chase Elliott was not a fan, came down the track, took out Denny Hamlin. It looked intentional, for sure. I think that if you're going to intend to do that, hooking someone in the straight like that is not the best move. Seen the in-car from Denny Hamlin. Very, very violent impact. You've seen a lot of him moving in the seat, or just the movements that he had from that impact. Not something that you want to see. And again, a lot of people talk about it. Chase Elliott should be suspended for a race for that. I agree. I think that if you're going to do something like that, it's what Bubba Wallace did to Kyle Larson, Kansas last year. It's the same thing. Maybe there wasn't as much driving down the track, but it was still intentional. Bubba Wallace chased Kyle Larson on the track to spin him out. Chase Elliott didn't have to chase Denny Hamlin on the track. He kind of just went down, hit him, took him out. Again, I think Chase Elliott should be suspended for it. Pretty dumb move. Do I think NASCAR suspends him? No, I don't, because it's Chase Elliott. And that's their guy. I mean, they made ads for Chase Elliott coming back from breaking his leg. I genuinely feel like NASCAR hypes up Chase Elliott to levels that you didn't even see with Dale Jr. when he was the most popular driver. I really feel that. I don't think that there is moments. Dale Jr. came back from concussions and we didn't get ads of he's back racing, right? It wasn't the same thing, but we get Chase Elliott back after, breaking his leg. I think that Chase Elliott won't get suspended. But again, I think that if you want to keep consistency and you want to keep that in check, and I think you got to keep that in check. I don't think you can have drivers coming on the track taking people out intentionally, especially with that type of, hooking the right rear into the wall, driver side impact of the wall. It's a dangerous crash, or head on into the wall. Dangerous crash, dangerous situation. Dumb decision for something stupid. That's dumb because somebody get injured, and honestly, it's dumb because Chase Elliott took himself out when he needs to make up points because he was out. So overall, I think Chase Elliott should be suspended, but I don't think he will be. Seeing the data traces that Denny Hamlin put out may put NASCAR more into a box of saying that they have to do it because the data's out there, people see it. And if you can intentionally look at it, because he didn't get hit, there's some people trying to say that Brad Keselowski hit him, but Keselowski did not make contact until after Chase Elliott came down the track and turned the wheel. So, there's that. That's my take on that. Later in the race, Ryan Blaney, brilliant car, winning stage 3. Tyler Reddick was always getting close with that Carolina, the Carolina blue there on the Jumpman car. Absolutely awesome design. I love it. That's one of the top paint schemes of the year for me. I know some people were saying they should have done more with the side of it. I think it's perfect the way it is. That car was awesome to see. Tyler Reddick was definitely on it. Sliding up one time, going through the grass, not losing a position out of it, saving it. Again, brilliant. Also, the track having its artificial grass. I think that's the way to go. I think that there was discussion before, should we pave all the tracks? I don't think the pavement is the way to go, but I think the artificial grass, definitely sold on that. Seeing it still looks like the regular grass, but when the cars go through it, they don't get tore up. So I think it's a good balance, and honestly, we should have that at more tracks. Disappointment towards the end, Kevin Harvick spinning out next to Tyler Reddick, or making contact with him sliding up the track. That was disappointing. Kevin Harvick had a good run for a little bit of that race, leading 20-something laps. So that was a few moments of excitement there, sitting at the front. But when he spun, I was disappointed for sure. Yeah. And again, going back to 30th at the start from starting second to recover up to the front. I'm hoping he gets a win this year. I really am. Obviously, we've discussed how on the channel, I've been a Kevin Harvick fan since I was little. I mean, again, pictures are made from 2001 next to the 29 car. So, to see him get a win in the last season, I have the picture right there on my shelf. To see him win in that last season would be brilliant. So hopefully that happens. Later on in the race, Kyle Larson, he spins out, hits into Ty Gibbs. So all the drivers that I root for were out, pretty much out of contention, with Kyle Larson and Ty Gibbs also going out. I was like, okay, this is good. The three drivers I root for the most in the field were out. And again, I want to actually touch on Ty Gibbs in that race, the way that he raced. He's done brilliant this season. Hanging around the top 10 lots of times, right there at the edge. He hasn't really got to the top 5 yet, but he's hanging around the top 10. That's been really cool to see. Of course, a few races that he could have been there. That's some issue, I think, Talladega, and here at Charlotte. Both of those were ones that he had a shot at. And also, him and Justin Haley doing both the Xfinity and Cup race in the same day, 900 miles, or Ty Gibbs probably did, whatever, 898, because he didn't get to do the last, 3 miles because he was 2 laps down in the Cup race. But, again, for both of them to do both the races, very, very impressive. Overall, Cup race, Ryan Blaney getting the win, though. really, really cool to see him get back to winning and doing again similar to what Joseph Newgarden did going into the crowd. He did the same idea. Again, both Penske drivers. Roger Penske first time getting a Coke 600 win and Indy 500 win in the same weekend. Also, that's pretty cool. So, but yeah, excited to see Ryan Blaney get a win. It'd been a while. So we got both winless drivers from last year getting their wins this year. Martin Truex at Dover, Ryan Blaney here at the Coke 600. So very cool to see him get that win. So what do we have next week to discuss? F1 goes to Spain. Barcelona, Catalunya will be where they'll be racing. A little bit different without having the final kind of little chicane thingy. Seeing a little bit more of a flowing corner. I think we'll set up for that race to be a little bit more exciting. In the last few turns, you can carry a little more speed down the straight and all that kind of stuff. NASCAR, we'll see Gateway for Cup and Trucks, and Portland for the Xfinity Series. Portland last year was very, very cool. I liked that track. That was a good one to see. So, definitely looking forward to Portland next weekend. But yeah, that's that. Thank you for watching the Tuesday edition of the Racing Debrief. It's 2:30 in the morning, and I still got to edit this. So, we'll see you guys next week.